Welcome, ladles and jelly spoons, old and new, to Kohigh Mathy's YouTube channel, a place for retro gaming shenanigans and British buffoonery. For those of you that have just joined us, here is the story so far. Husky strapping Mr. B is madly in love with the sweet ethereal Tiger Tom, he of the bedroom eyes and bathroom mind. Together they stroll through the thick tangled undergrowth, played by thick tangled Ninja Chloe in a skin. Pausing at the trunk of a petrified oak, played by petrified Richard York, he took her in his arms, his firm young kneecaps pressed against the madras cotton of his trousers. Her mouth became a scarlet wound of anguish as he gasped the words.
Oh, hi there.
That was PixelJuice there, who appear by kind permission of the Godalming Vegetarian Lifeguard Fan Club and Burial Society. Now, it's nice to have the chance. I bet it is. Oh, quiet, White Muffin. Now, it's nice to have the chance to look back at video games that meant so much to me growing up, but every once in a while it's good to see what other important anniversaries these video games share their landmark day with. For today is the 400th anniversary of the death of the man who became known as the father of the Christmas pudding. His name was Richard Serendipity Mouthbasket, known to his friends in the pudding clique as Spotted Dick. He experimented with puddings for years. He'd already given the world rice pudding, peas pudding, and incredibly a ballpoint pen that would write under porridge, which was very popular in Scotland. But that's another story. His first Christmas pudding was commissioned by the workhouse master and was a rude affair. No one really knows what became of it, with the possible exception of the workhouse master and maybe one or two inmates. Sadly, Richard's end was a tragic one. One day, whilst experimenting with different Christmas pudding mixtures, having mixed his batter and put in sultanas and raisins, he quite accidentally added an electric current. Then he picked up his electric razor, switched it on and poof. The explosion was tremendous, and so it is that his epitaph reads Richard Serendipity Mouthbasket, born in Somerset, died in Somerset, Gloucester and Devon. If you don't think they had electric razors 400 years ago, well, mind your own business. March 2021 sees the following titles celebrate their 30th birthday. Chase HQ provides awesome bouts of criminal chasing action complete with fast cars, faster getaways and excessive hairstyles. The game was the Master System's answer to Rad Racer, but rather than racing for your own vainglorious pursuits, you race to stop horrible people from committing further atrocities. It's a wild ride, but 15 minutes and 5 levels after it starts, it's all over, and you're back at HQ wondering if speed, bad guys and hair is all there is to life. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, a platformer for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Released in 1991, based on the film of the same name, the player takes the role of Indiana Jones, and the story within the game loosely follows the plot of the film. Seeing in their 25th birthday this March, this first game is the whole reason why I wanted to cover the 25th anniversary landmark. Resident Evil, a survival horror video game developed and released by Capcom originally for the PlayStation.
Jill Sandwich!
It's the first game in the Resident Evil series. The plot follows Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine, members of an elite task force known as STARS, as they investigate the outskirts of Raccoon City following the disappearance of their team members. They soon become trapped in a mansion infested with zombies and other monsters. The player, having selected either Jill or Chris at the start of the game, must explore the mansion to uncover its secrets. Dragon Ball Z Hyperdimension, a fighting video game developed by TOS and published by Bandai for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Based on Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball franchise, it is the last fighting game in the series to be released for the SNES. Following from the Frieza arc to the conclusion of the Majin Buu saga, its gameplay is similar to early Super Boden entries, consisting of one-on-one fights using a main 6-button configuration. Featuring special moves as well as multiple game modes, it is the only Dragon Ball game not to feature future Trunks as a playable character.
Here comes a new challenger!
Since I'm talking about classic beat-em-up titles, it would be remiss of me not to mention friend of the channel N-Gage and his YouTube channel N-Gage's Final Round. Please be sure to head over there and say hi. There's a link in the description down below and there'll be one at the end of the video. Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars, a role-playing game developed by Square and published by Nintendo for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. It was the final Mario game to be published for the SNES. Since this game is turning 25, I thought it was about time that self-confessed Mario fan and ukulele teacher extraordinaire Mr. B gave it a go. So here is my challenge to Mr. B. Play through the first hour of the game and let us know what you think.
Didn't you also challenge Dicky from Richard York's Wargaming, where no wargame remains unplayed, apparently, but I can think of a few, well, more like half a dozen, well, a dozen if you're asking, to play XCOM?
Yes, I did, almost a year ago. Anyway, back to birthdays. Marking their 20th anniversary this March, Zone of the Enders, officially abbreviated as Zoe, is a third-person shooter hack-and-slash video game that was developed and published by Konami for the Sony PlayStation 2. Based around mecha combat in outer space, the story is set in the space around Jupiter, following a young colonist named Leo Stenbuck. Leo is on a mission to return the orbital frame known as Junti to the Space Force and use the frame to protect civilians. The game was re-released for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 alongside a direct sequel, Zone of the Enders The Second Runner, in 2012 as part of the Zone of the Enders HD collection. Black and White, a God video game developed by Lionheart Studios and published by Electronic Arts for Microsoft Windows in 2001 and by Feral Interactive in 2002 for the Mac OS. Black and White combines elements of artificial life and strategy. The player acts as a god whose goal it is to defeat Nemesis, another god who wants to take over the world. A primary theme is the concept of good versus evil, with the atmosphere being affected by the player's moral choices. The core gameplay mechanic of Black and White is the interaction between the player and an avatar creature who carries out the player's instructions, and whose personality and behaviour changes in reaction to how they are treated. Officially retro, but this month sees the following titles reach double figures. Dragon Age 2, an action role-playing video game developed by BioWare and published by Electronic Arts. It is the second major game in the Dragon Age series. Set in the world of Thedas, players assume the role of Hawk, a human mage, rogue or warrior, who arrives in the city of Kirkwall as a lowly refugee and becomes a legendary champion over a turbulent decade of political and social conflict. In the game, the player explores and engages in combat from a third-person perspective. Players encounter various companions who play a major role in the game's plot and gameplay. Depending on the player's decisions and dialogue, a companion will either recognise Hawk as a friend or rival. Total War Shogun 2, a strategy video game developed by Creative Assembly and published by Sega. It is part of the Total War series and returns to the 16th century Japan setting of the first Total War game, Shogun Total War. Set in 16th century feudal Japan in the aftermath of the Oni War during the Ashikaga shogunate, the country is fractured into rival clans led by local warlords, each fighting for control. The player takes on the management of one of these clans with the goal of dominating the other factions and establishing a rule over Japan.
And didn't you do a series of videos on Shogun Total War with both Mr. B and Dicky?
Yes, I did. It was called Dickytorial, and you can watch all 3 seasons of Dickytorial on this channel right now. There'll be a link in the description down below. Indeed, why not have a look at some of the other videos on my channel? If you enjoyed this one, who knows, you might even be tempted to subscribe for more retro gaming shenanigans and British buffoonery every week. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be leaving you today with this thought. If you put a police constable to bed, would you be laying down the law? Cheerio, see you next week.